The BYD Seagull sells for $9,700, while the Chevrolet Bolt costs $26,500, both offering similar electric technology. Where does the $15,000 difference come from? A major factor is U.S. government restrictions on Chinese EV imports, aiming to protect domestic industries. Meanwhile, Chinese cars are flooding streets in Europe and Mexico, offering affordable options to consumers. In America, these protections create an artificial price wall, forcing buyers to pay more for less. Ironically, while Americans preach free markets, they're shielding themselves from global competition, leaving consumers with fewer choices and inflated costs. Is protectionism really protecting the people, or just the corporations? America cannot compete without heavy tariffs. China holds a massive advantage with its dominance in battery manufacturing, control over raw materials, and low-cost labor. While companies like Ford and GM are losing thousands of dollars on every electric vehicle they sell, BYD is already turning a profit even in the low-cost segment. Without protectionist barriers, American automakers would be overwhelmed by China's efficiency and scale. The real crisis isn't just cheap imports. It's that the U.S. industrial system struggles to survive without government intervention, exposing a painful weakness beneath the image of free market strength. The real reason behind the Chinese EV ban isn't just national security, it's corporate protectionism. While officials claim the ban prevents Chinese companies from collecting sensitive data, Tesla already gathers massive amounts of driving and location information without facing similar restrictions. Behind the scenes, major American automakers have been aggressively lobbying the government to block cheaper, more competitive Chinese vehicles. It's less about protecting citizens and more about shielding U.S. companies from losing market share. In the name of security, America is building walls to defend industries that can't keep up on a truly level playing field. Like the video and subscribe for more. American consumers are the real victims. A 27.5% tariff turns affordable Chinese EVs into luxury items, even though their original prices are extremely low. This artificial inflation limits access to electric vehicles for middle and working class buyers. If Chinese EVs were allowed to enter freely, analysts estimate EV prices in the U.S. could drop by up to 30%, significantly easing inflation in the auto market. Instead of fostering competition and affordability, protectionist policies prioritize corporate profits over consumer welfare, making the transition to clean energy slower and far more expensive than it needs to be. There's a striking paradox. The U.S. government offers a $7,500 subsidy for electric vehicles, yet American EVs still cost almost twice as much as comparable Chinese models. Where is all that money going? Much of it vanishes into high production costs, corporate overhead, and profit margins, rather than truly benefiting consumers. Protectionist tariffs and inefficient supply chains further drive prices up, making subsidies feel like a band-aid on a broken system. Now imagine an extreme scenario. What if Mexico began assembling Chinese EVs and exporting them to the U.S.? Tesla already manufactures in Shanghai and could easily replicate this model. With NAFTA rules favoring Mexican assembly, Chinese-designed cars could legally flood the American market at a fraction of current EV prices. This loophole would bypass tariffs and deliver affordable options to U.S. consumers almost overnight, breaking the stranglehold traditional automakers have. American companies would face brutal competition not from across the Pacific, but right across the southern border. It would force a reckoning. Either innovate and lower costs dramatically, or risk becoming obsolete in the very market they fought to protect. The question isn't if, it's when. The debate is sharp. Should America ban Chinese EVs to protect domestic jobs, or open its doors to offer consumers affordable cars? On one hand, restricting Chinese imports could preserve manufacturing jobs and stabilize key industries like Ford and GM, which are already struggling with EV profitability. On the other hand, allowing Chinese EVs could lower car prices dramatically, by up to 55%, making electric vehicles accessible for millions of Americans currently priced out of the market. If faced with the choice, would you buy a Chinese EV if it cost half as much as an American model? Many consumers might prioritize their wallets over patriotism, especially during times of economic pressure. Ultimately, the decision pits short-term consumer benefits against long-term industrial strength. Protecting jobs may seem noble, but at what cost to affordability, innovation, and environmental goals? The real challenge is finding a balance between protecting American workers and giving consumers the freedom to choose. Where do you stand? If the US doesn't drastically cut EV production costs by 2025, giants like Ford and Tesla might end up as customers of BYD rather than competitors. Chinese companies have mastered efficiency, supply chain control, and affordable innovation, giving them a massive price advantage. While American manufacturers burn cash to stay afloat, BYD is scaling globally, offering EVs at prices US firms simply can't match. This looming reality raises a serious question. Is it time for Washington to admit that beating China at its own game is no longer feasible? Instead of doubling down on subsidies and tariffs, perhaps the US needs a new strategy, like focusing on next-generation technologies, strengthening domestic supply chains, and investing heavily in R&D rather than protectionism. Without a fundamental shift, America risks losing its automotive leadership, not just to China, but to its own stubbornness. The clock is ticking. If you're vibing with this content, smash that like button, drop your thoughts in the comments, and hit subscribe so you don't miss out on the real talks coming your way. Let's build something epic together.